But if you think that that was his objective, to correct things, that's your right to make that decision.
Well, that's my issue with this, is I don't
I'm just gonna
see
look at my phone,
anything coming from.
because a friend of mine was gonna send me that letter. I may already have it, but I may not be able to
But-
get it off my phone. Nope, not yet.
This is another one of those frustrating things because I do happen to have that documentation that he's talking about from Brooklyn, and it doesn't justify anything. It's a feeble attempt at best to try and cover their tracks, and very frustrating. Anyway, continuing.
Yeah, well, I can just give you my email, and you can just email it to me if you send it to your phone.
Sometimes
But my
in these
issue
cases is that there isn't enough evidence. And so the Society of the Brothers can't do something,
I'm
but the government has taken care of, they've been punished.
They need to
They're
be
in prison,
prepared.
they're in prison.
And I don't know.
But I think that this needs to be, and the problem is this is an issue that is apparently growing. The reports are coming in and they're growing. This is an issue that needs to be addressed as far as I'm concerned. You know, if it's an error, maybe this is something that does need to be addressed and changed.
And I can tell you in absolute terms that that matter is very clear. One of the things that we're doing, and I'll just tell you, and I don't know how else you would have it done, I can tell you how Jehovah's Organization is doing it. Systematically, throughout the entire United States, the elders are all trained in 1 week-long classes.
I know about that.
Yep. And so one of the things I can tell you, because this was taught in my class, and I don't think you're going to see it in the Watchtower necessarily, maybe you will, I don't remember it being in there. Child abuse is like amputation. It can't be fixed in this wicked system of things. That's how serious a matter it is,
I agree.
like an
Absolutely.
amputation. Therefore, we should never, ever tell families not to seek protection to the fullest extent of the law and to pursue that. If, on the other hand, and these are two separate issues, we are asked to get involved in a congregational setting in order to truly know how to care for and provide spiritual benefits, we should seek assistance, guidance, and direction from the Watchtower Bible Tract Society. Two separate issues. If you wish to try to have them cross over, it could get quite confusing. But I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not a police officer. Those folks are qualified to do their jobs. I'm a minister, and I need to make sure that I both show discernment by knowing what the scriptures say, but also, you know what? The branch office receives reports and information from all over the United States and learns from. For instance, and I'll give you one that I've dealt with, is somebody sucking out a little boy's toes child abuse?
I guess it would depend on the context.
You know what? I totally agree. So should the parents report that to the authorities?
Well, it depends on the context.
I agree. But they've just asked me, because I'm the circuit overseer, to tell them what to do. Let me call, because I don't want to do
Now, I
something wrong.
can see, you know, that kind of
But you
situation.
take it out of
But
context. it
sucking on
looks-
toes and sucking on something else is completely different.
That's clear. Yeah, totally understand. Now, personally,
Because I love babies. I'll suck on their fingers and toes and nose and everything else. I love them.
but you failed to ask some additional questions. What other things was the person involved in, maybe separately of doing those types of things? See, and that's the type of thing, if I call the service department, they're going to say, Brother Flynn, let me switch you over to the legal department. Brother Flynn, what other things did the person do? Did you speak to them? Were they also looking at pornography or other things that could help me to have greater discernment? Now, in no way, shape, or form are they saying, because we want to make sure that you protect us. The little sheep is the one that needs
Well,
to
they're
be
not going to
protected.
come out and say you need to protect us. I mean, it's not.
But again,
It's not obvious that way. Everything's kind of laid out more subtly and deceptively as far as that goes.
I guess that's a conclusion you could draw. I respect you can draw that conclusion.
I'm not trying to draw any conclusion.
I'm really
I'm just trying to
I'm
get
really a stupid and naive
some
person.
answers. It's just,
I can tell you in
it's
absolute
bothering.
terms.
You know, and I know that the Silent Lambs, they recently had a protest in front of the organization, and this is not the thing that impressed me was, I was expecting them to be, all angry against the organization, and they weren't. They want to be part of the
Where's the
organization.
truth?
They just want the policy changed. And I have to agree
And
with
what
that.
policy is that?
The child molestation policy, the two-witness rule, the
No, no, no.
no going to
They're
the
separate
authorities.
issues. They're separate issues, right? So you would have me disfellowship someone on.
I'm not saying to disfellowship them.
That's what you're saying, though, in that situation. You would have me get involved in a judicial matter and disfellowship someone on hearsay. So guess what? She's a
That's
child
not
abuser.
what I'm saying.
You're a child abuser.
That's not what I'm saying.
But that's what,
The issue that the Silent Lamps are having is they've been victims of the two-witness rule. They've been victims of disfellowshipping for going to the authorities.
no,
They've been victims of the Watchtower Society sending lawyers to
none of those
defend
things, none of those
the
things are,
abuser.
none of those things are the standard.
And that's what their protest was about. They want to change those policies. They don't want to leave the organization.
Okay.
They just want that
In absolute
changed.
terms,
And I agree with them. If that's an issue, that needs to be checked, that needs to be addressed.
yeah, and I can tell you that that's definitely not the case. In absolute terms, going to the authorities is an individual person's right. And they should do it.
Yeah, but what if, again, different congregations will have different personalities? What if one group of elders is a little bit authoritarian and go, yeah, it's a personal choice, but, you shouldn't?
So how would you?
Because
how
if
would
you're
you handle that?
encouraged by the elders, or if you're guided by the elders, or you're guided by the society, you're guided by anything like that, especially if you're encouraged,
Mhm.
that's taken pretty much as, that's what I should do. So
I
if
can
you're
tell you in
encouraged,
absolute terms,
you can go to the authorities, but we're gonna encourage you to wait on Jehovah.
nobody says
You're pretty
that.
much telling them, wait on Jehovah,
Nobody says that.
It's against the law too, isn't it?
Yeah.
in some states, not all states. Some states have to, report it, and some states don't. And the
Yeah.
states that don't are having the problem.
Absolute terms, the two separate issues in absolute terms are, one, you have to protect your children, and the superior authorities stand in that relative position. Two, the way to protect the congregation of individuals is by keeping the congregation clean. And even if somebody wanted,
But I'd rather have a couple of false accusations and have them turn out to be okay, rather than be guilty of false cover-ups.
I can tell you in absolute terms in that situation, although we could not necessarily make it a judicial matter at that time, we hold the matter in abeyance, because if there are two witnesses, it can be established.
But there's never gonna be two witnesses for child molestation,
Like I said,
unless they're crazy enough to take pictures or something. But most child molesters, they're not gonna work in a group
well, there's,
or with an audience. It's just it's
Yeah.
an issue. That's the two-witness rule is a hard thing.
because I don't have the ability to fix something that only God can fix, and that's where you start, and I'm not done, that's where you start saying that God, trust in Jehovah.
This is another place I dropped the ball a little bit. I didn't stay focused enough to get a definitive answer regarding the two-witness rule. We skirted around it and never got a clear yes or no about the two-witness rule regarding child molestation. Anyway, continuing.
The point is that even if we in the congregation cannot disfellowship them, we can still protect the congregation, and we're directed to do that. If somebody has that serious allegation against them that has been established in a court of law, then that would be public knowledge and available to the congregation of friends. And I'll tell you what I would do.
It would be public knowledge.
If somebody's not an accused, but a convicted child abuser, yeah, that's public.
Also, another point I dropped the ball was the public knowledge. Of course, it's public knowledge, but it's not public knowledge within the congregation. And when you're in the congregation and not looking at anything threatening to the organization, you're not going to be looking at your fellow brothers and stuff like that in the organization. If you don't think this touches you, you're not going to be following up on the public notifications of child molesters. So yeah, I dropped the ball. Anyway, continuing.
Knowledge that,
That's,
Was in the newspaper, we had that. Up in prison.
yeah, I know we had it.
and so we have a responsibility to protect the
Yeah,
congregation.
he's on Silent Lines too.
Within the context of the scriptures. So yeah, I've been in congregations where that means if that brother gets up and goes to the bathroom, one of the elders gets up and stands in the bathroom. Now, we don't make a big deal out of it. We're not gonna try to embarrass anybody, the child who maybe ambles into the bathroom while that's going on, or the man.
Well, I can appreciate that too.
Yeah,
You know, I
but,
can
but do we need to
appreciate
put that all in print just to make sure everybody understands that's really what happens?
Why not?
I don't know, sometimes I guess it is,
Why not? I think, I know I would feel better
yeah.
if I knew exactly the procedures that the elders were required to follow. And exactly where I stood, and exactly where they stand, and exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, why can't that be? That's a very good point. Why isn't that
Maybe it
more
will.
public?
maybe it will.
Because it would help everybody understand not only where they stand,
Mhm.
but what they can expect from all of the policies regarding judicial matters.
Yeah, maybe it will be. I think that's fair enough. But I can tell you in absolute terms, we don't say just wait on Jehovah and don't go to the authorities. If somebody did that, they were wrong.
Well, I know I've been told that from people before.
And-
And my
here's
answer
challenge.
is maybe Jehovah is trying to, wait on Jehovah, he'll bring it all to light, but maybe that's exactly what he's trying to do
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
I mean, he doesn't
And
perform
100,000
miracles
elders.
with a boom of light the way he used to.
Yeah.
He's gonna work in other ways, but
And with
maybe.
100-some thousand elders in the United States alone, I think it's 96,000. But if we could make robot elders, now, in no way or shape or form, if you read something out of context, you could take it as two witnesses, wait on Jehovah, don't call the authorities. That's not true. And
In every case.
some idiot could draw that conclusion. All I can tell you is that there is a new edition of the Shepherding Book, which tries to just be more clear, although the point is the same. And so I'm not upset by anything that somebody might take out.
And I didn't do it to upset you.
Yeah, no, but
It's
I'm
just
not.
what I read.
I'm not, because you know what? If somebody was telling me,
I'm one of those I wanna get,
oh,
like when, what was his name, Bob? When he was here, and we were talking, because there was some websites that I went to and I went, and I know why they're not ignoring it. I mean, you can tell the tone
Sure.
of it right from the get-go. So that's why I like to go to the original source whenever
Mhm.
possible, because I don't like to take word of mouth.
I would not be a part of an organization, and I really have to just be blown away that, as you put it, rising to a circuit overseer, I wouldn't be able to be straightforward, because if I'm involved in an org, I've got 2 nephews and a niece. And in absolute terms, there's nothing more important. When we look at James 1:27, when we look at Exodus 22 through 24, protecting those who are vulnerable, who's more vulnerable than a little child?
That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly my issue,
Yep,
is, they should come first,
agreed.
period.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you
So there
this,
should be no
I
question
care
about
for
it.
oversight, if you will, of 21 congregations in our area. Upwards of 2,000 people are my congregation, so to speak. If I ever observed that to be the type of thing that I ever observed some rogue or maverick elder doing, I would not rest until.
But
the
I
child was
have to
protected.
say, you are the nicest circuit overseer I've ever had.